Now, this girl went on a date with this dude or whatever, and he took her to the movies or whatever, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like, you know what I'm saying, stuff didn't work out or whatever, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Or he must have just, like, planned to do something to her because he killed her and buried her in the desert or whatever, whatnot. And that's crazy as ever. You know what I'm saying? They showing this dude picture on like TV or whatever, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy as ever. I mean, like, I don't know if they caught the guy or not. You know what I'm saying? But if they go catch him, they should get him quick because that's crazy as ever, and that's on bro. Anyway, now this like cop actually like pushed this woman for no reason. I mean, he said an altercation, like, broke out. Like, he said somebody got stabbed, somebody got shot, or whatever, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's not looking up because, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, on the body cam, it shows something different as ever. You know what I'm saying? No, no. So, this story is not gonna check out, and that's on bro. Anyway, so this like DA try to like defend this cop, bro, like try to lock up this like 18-year-old like dude or dog or whatever because he out there saying like what I'm saying he was like messing with him just to mess with him. You know what I'm saying? For real though, I mean like shoot, it was crazy as ever, gang. And I already told you about this last time. You know what I'm saying? He was like acting like he like what's gonna get ran over by a car because he passed the car, and then the cop just go arrest him. Like that's some crazy stuff. Plus, you know what I'm saying? This like cop in Pennsylvania was actually like doing some other stuff or whatever, messing with other people and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And getting away with it or whatever. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's crazy. That's illegal. This man is illegally arresting people and stuff like that, and that's on bro. Anyway, so yeah, I mean like stuff is like getting exposed for whatever whatnot. Now I'm saying I mean like by like what I'm saying the like Wright brothers or whatever whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And they actually like telling you what like what's going on or whatever whatnot. But I'm already knowing what's going on, gang. I mean like you can't tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? But so what I'm gonna go ahead and hear them out. You know what I'm saying? Because like this mysterious like shit that's been happening. It's not like it's not no like damn joke or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? This not nothing new. Shit been happening. You know what I'm saying? For real though, I mean like it's crazy. It's crazy as ever. You know what I'm saying? For real though. But I'm glad they like like actually like busting out these like white individuals that's trying to like be sneaky and shit and so they could like keep getting away with murder and shit. And like that shit is not like cool at all. But I'm glad they came out and like just spoke out about it, and that's on bro. Anyway, now this like dude was looking for his cat, right? He put an air tag on his cat, so yeah, because his cat like just like ran off or whatever went on. You know what I'm saying? Right. Anyway, so like dude was up there like had this gun on him or whatever went on, you know what I'm saying? He like didn't realize he had this gun on him or nothing. So dude was just like going to like every area of the like neighborhood so he could like see if his cat was there or whatever whatnot. Not saying I mean like shoot the air tag was like blinking off or whatever, beeping or whatever whatnot, you know what I'm saying? So he go to the area or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then like, he just knocked on the door. You know what I'm saying? Just try to like, see if his cat was there or whatever whatnot. Nobody didn't come to the door or nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? For real though. I don't think nobody called the cops on him or whatever. The cops just started messing with him. Because why they saw his blick. or whatever whatnot, you know what I'm saying? And no, it wasn't like he was gonna pull it out or try to blink somebody down or nothing like that. He explained to them that he was looking for his cat or whatever whatnot. Right after they like, placed him in handcuffs or whatever. And it's like cop was pointing his blick at him, told him to get down on his knees, put his hands up in the air, you know what I'm saying, and start crawling all the way to the driveway or whatever. And this dude had to crawl backwards or whatever or whatnot, you know what I'm saying. He told him to put his belly down on the ground so he could place handcuffs on him or whatever whatnot. You know what I'm saying? For real though. Anyway, you know what I'm saying, stuff, altercation didn't break out or nothing like that. Nobody didn't get blazed down or nothing because, well, I mean, he was just actually looking for his cat. Now, the thing is, his cat's collar, end up coming off or whatever whatnot. And, yeah, that's not surprising because, cats could, actually take stuff off their, necks real fast. And I seen that shit happen before again. I mean, I'm not gonna even, cap. I seen that shit happen before because that's what my cat did before. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's when I, was younger or whatever when I, you know what I'm saying? I mean, for real though. Anyway, back to the story. Now, this, woman's husband, came, was coming home or whatever whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So they actually tried to see what was going on. The dude had the cats curled up in his hand or whatever or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, they was up there just trying to figure out. They was so confused as ever. But the dude actually told them that color was purple and all that, you know what I'm saying? I mean he was correct or whatever whatnot, you know what I mean? For real though. Anyway, so yeah, I mean so when they actually opened up the car door on the squad car or whatever whatnot, not saying they just asked them questions and all that stuff about his ID and all that. So yeah, he said his ID was up in his ride or whatever whatnot. You know what I'm saying? He gave him permission to get his ID and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? For real, they actually took this man Blake or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean shoot, they was they had laws up in Texas when people go open carry or whatever whatnot, you know what I'm saying? For real though, anyway. So I don't know why they mess with this dude or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because they have the right to open carry, you know what I'm saying? For real though, I mean shoot, they have the right to open carry in Texas, Florida, and Kansas. Yeah, Kansas or whatever whatnot. For real though. Anyway, gang, it's just you know what I'm saying? They just figured it out. I got a app on my phone to you know what I'm saying? Actually make it blink, beep or whatever whatnot. You know what I'm saying? He the cop just wanted to see if he was actually telling the truth. He show the cop the app and all that stuff, and then he pressed the button, and next thing you know, that color start beeping, beep, 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 beep. You know what I'm saying? They let him go, they gave him his place and sent him on his way. And that's on bro. Anyway, now this other cop was actually in the middle of traffic stop or whatever whatnot, and he was in the middle of it or whatever. This dude walked past or whatever whatnot, and he just took his attention off of the person that he and was trying to do the traffic stop on, and put it on dude or whatever whatnot, you know what I mean? And this dude just actually bust his ass out for real though, you know what I'm saying? I mean well all the rights that he knew and all that, you know what I'm saying? And he was calling them crazy shit, words and shit, you know what I'm saying? When dude dropped his laptop out the car, he was like, You dropped your laptop, bitch. you just saying you dropped your creamy, bitch. That's all he's saying. You know what I'm saying? That was funny as ever. Nah, I ain't for real though. Even the sergeant couldn't even fuck with him. Why? Because he knew his rights. He knew his rights. For real though. So they like, you know what I'm saying, try to intimidate him. They couldn't intimidate him or nothing like that. They trying to get him to leave. I mean, the sergeant told him that he could stand right there on the sofa or whatever went on. You know what I'm saying? Saying like he not breaking no laws or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? For real though. So they just like, you know, actually like left him alone. Because why he wasn't gonna take that shit or whatever went on, you know what I mean? For real. So they like, you know, went back to doing a traffic stop just like they supposed to do or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And after all that, dude just went on his way. You know what I'm saying? And that's on bro. But anyway, like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Hit the bell on notification so you can mind that something I'm not supposed to make sure I make it on tomorrow. And oh yeah, you can check out my previous videos if you like, gang. So long, farewell, goodbye.